Welcome everybody, and thank you so much for joining us here at the Personalised Health Summit 2015. We're so excited to have Arielle Ford joining us today, and just wanted to make clear again the intention of this summit is really bringing together information and expertise and experience from amazing experts from all over the world in various areas of health for your benefit, for your information, so that you can find out what's right for you to be happy and healthy. A huge thank you to our major sponsors, Ultimate Human Foundation, for their amazing work that they're doing, working to eliminate chronic pain and disease from the planet. And a huge thank you to PH360, who's here trying to understand more about the tangible application of these personalised health insights so that you can actually find out specifically which foods are really great for you, the sort of exercises that are good for you, environments, activities, people, how your mind works, many, many different things that really are helping so many people all around the world in a tangible way to improve their health and their happiness. So please check out ph360.me. And the biggest thank you of all is for you for being here, for investing your time into your health and your relationships, and everything that you can experience here on these summits, calls with all the experts from all around the world. So without further ado, let's jump into a fantastic conversation with Arielle Ford. Arielle is a nationally recognised publicist, marketing expert. I'm not going to read her bio. She's behind the likes of Deepak Chopra, Jack Canfield, Neil Donald Walsh. She's authored several books herself, including popular Hot Chocolate for the Mystical Soul series, The Soulmate Secret, How to Manifest the Love of Your Life, The Law of Attraction, now considered the leading expert in love and happiness, and truly believes there's enough love in the world for everyone. Arielle Ford, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Matt. I'm glad we're together.
It's beautiful. It's so great to be having you on our summit and sharing your wisdom with us all, Arielle. So I'd love to jump straight into just hearing a little bit about what you're up to at the moment, Arielle. I know that the word soulmate is something that you're very passionate about now. Please share with us, what is a soulmate? About soulmates. This is just going to be such a great conversation today. I'm very excited, so thank you.
Thank you. Well, you know, soulmate's one of those crazy words that has a lot of different opinions and definitions, but here's my definition. I believe that a soulmate is first and foremost somebody that you feel physically and emotionally safe with, somebody with whom you share unconditional love, somebody that you can completely be yourself with, and when you look into their eyes, you have the experience of being home. So with this definition, a soulmate is more than a romantic partner. So it could be your parents, your siblings, your kids, your business partners, your best friend, your cats, your dogs, and of course most people want a romantic soulmate. But here's the really good news. For those people who are single that are tuned in, if you put your attention on all the soulmates you already have and start to spend some time every day having some gratitude and appreciation for all the love you already have, you will magnetize your romantic soulmate 1,000,000 times faster.
Wow. Arielle, that's such a powerful way to start this call. Tell me more about soulmates. So does this mean that we have a lot of different soulmates in our life? We can have lots of different soulmates. How does this differ in relationship?
That's really exciting. Yeah. So we grew up with this myth that we only get one big love in a lifetime, right? And it's just not true. It's not true at all. In fact, there are 7.2 billion people alive on the planet right now. Half of them are single. So if you haven't met your soulmate yet, chances are it's your fault because you're just not paying attention. There's soulmates everywhere. And you could be married to your soulmate for 10 or 20, 30 years. And at some point, the relationship has an expiration date. It doesn't mean they weren't your soulmate. It doesn't mean you weren't meant to be with them. But it may be that karmically, you fulfilled your destiny with them. Maybe you were just supposed to be together for 22 years, have 3 kids, raise them together, and then it's time to move on, and you'll have a new soulmate, and she'll have a new soulmate, because there's plenty of love in the world. So just like we know in the Western world or in the developed world, we never worry about how much water we have to drink or how much air we have to breathe. But people worry that there's not enough love for them. And the truth is, just like we have air and water as our birthright, so is love.
Wow, Arielle. Well, I think if we finished up the call here, we'd be probably pretty much in a great space. You can just feel the audience just a breath of liberation and freedom, knowing that we're not stuck in the patterns that and the old beliefs that we've had for so long, that we are destined to be with one person, our one soulmate that exists, and searching the world trying to find our one soulmate and questioning ourselves if we found them, is that our soulmate, is it not? That's just such an amazing breath of fresh air and a fantastic perspective. Thank you for sharing that so much with us.
Yeah, and see, one of the other big myths about soulmates is that when I'm with my soulmate, everything will be easy. We will live happily ever after. And nothing could be further from the truth. When you're really with your soulmate, they come, and in their DNA, they know how to push all your buttons. That's part of their job, because when you're in a true soulmate relationship, your biggest purpose together is to heal each other on the deepest level, to heal your childhood wounds. So all the shit, for lack of a better word, is going to come up. And that's normal, but people treat it like something's wrong. And what's wrong is that we've never been taught how to navigate a true love relationship, how to communicate, how to connect, how to be on the same team, how to talk to each other in a way that's empowering and not shaming and blaming. So all of this is what's in my next book that's coming out at the end of the year. It's called Turn Your Mate into Your Soulmate. Because chances are, if you were once in love with the person that you married or that you're with, and now you're thinking, oh my God, the grass is greener somewhere else, I can show you how to get back to that in-love place. Now, I can't do it if there are three things going on. If there's really bad behavior, abuse, or addiction, I can't help you. You need professional counseling as a couple. But if it's just the usual, you're not listening to me, I need you to do this, I want you to change, I told you a million times, the usual mishigash, that can be fixed. And it can be fixed where you end up like blissed out.
Wow, that's such a powerful concept to understand, Arielle. I'd love to explore this a little bit further with you. And it really does give a lot of hope for people. We've already got comments coming through saying, Anna says, great, I've got 3.6 billion soulmates left. It really is such an empowering way to perceive things. And
here's what gets in the way of singles. Not that there aren't enough soulmates for them. Their beliefs. So especially women, they have these beliefs. I'll tell you the top 5. I'm too old. I'm too fat. I'm too damaged. All the good ones are taken. And my one and only got away. None of this is true. But we live like it's true. I don't know what sizing is like where you live in Australia, but there's a million women thinking, oh, I can't find my soulmate till I lose weight. They think they need to be a 0 or size 2 or size 4. And yet in America, the average size wedding dress sold is a size 16. That's big. Okay, that's a good 40, 50 pounds or more over what's considered slim. So your size has nothing to do with your ability to be loved unless you say it does.
That's beautiful, Arielle. And just to delve into that a little bit further, I mean, this whole series we've had 1.5 amazing weeks. We've got a couple of days to go of hearing so much about personalized health and understanding that all of us are different shapes and sizes, and all of us have different thoughts and perceptions and beliefs and different things that we believe are happiness, and different relationships that may spark us the wrong way or the right way, and all these understandings. And yet we're still, I guess as a society, brought up in the belief that we should grow up, we should find our soulmate, and we should get married and have our kids and buy a couple of houses if we can get to that point in time, and that's kind of our life.
I know we should on each other and on ourselves nonstop. We're constantly, I should, you should. It's really not nice.
Yeah. So how can we, for everybody listening in at home right now, how can we start to navigate away from some of the beliefs we've had? I know that it's not quite as easy for some people that may be in an unhappy marriage or relationship to sort of pick up and walk out and say, oh, Arielle told me there's plenty of soulmates out there, I'm just going to go find another one. How do we actually tangibly...
Well, here's why you don't want to jump ship without giving it your all. Because if you don't handle the issues, most of which may be yours, you will just manifest another soulmate in which the same issues come up. We're here to heal ourselves and each other, and if we don't do the deep work, just, deciding, oh, you don't make me happy enough, and not being personally responsible for our own happiness, you'll just be miserable. I'm going to give you some statistics that are going to blow your mind, okay? So we all have heard that first marriages, the divorce rate is 50% for first marriages. What no one's told you is that the divorce rate for second marriages is 61%.
Wow.
Divorce rate for third marriages is 72%.
Wow.
Okay, so if you think you're just going to jump ship and the grass is greener somewhere else, it may not be. Now, it does work for some people, especially if there was an expiration date. Oh, we were married and it was good, and now it's just over. You know, it's different for those people because they're not running away from something. It's just a complete.
Mm-hmm.
But for a lot of people, we need to do the deeper work. So we need to really understand what love is. People think love is a feeling. You know, oh, I feel love. Well, yes, it's a nice feeling. But I always like to tell people that the process, the state of being in love is truly an acceptable, it's an acceptable form of insanity. Because if you look what's going on in the brain chemistry with all the dopamine and all the oxytocin and all the chemicals that are going on that cause this in love feeling, it's not a real state. So we go into this honeymoon phase that lasts from 6 months to 18 months. You know, and most people, that's what they think love is. But love is much more than that. Love is a decision. It's a choice. It's a stand that we take. You know, we take vows to each other which say, you know what, there are going to be days when I don't like you, but I am still going to love you. I'm going to love you in spite of the things I don't like about you because I committed to be here for you. I'm going to be a witness to your life. We are going to be a team, and you're going to do the same for me. That's what mature adults do. That's what love is. So just like people who have children know, you don't like those kids every day. There are days when you wish you could return them, right? But you still love them. But we don't give our spouse the same thing. We keep looking for them to be perfect. In fact, I wrote a book on this whole subject. It was called Wabi Sabi Love. And Wabi Sabi is this ancient Japanese aesthetic that seeks to find beauty and perfection in imperfection. So let's say, oh, here's a vase. Okay, so imagine that this was a work of art and there was a big crack down the middle of it. If I gave it to a Japanese museum curator, they would put it on a pedestal and then shine a spotlight on the crack. Mm-hmm. So that's what I ask people to do with your spouse and with yourself. And I'm going to tell you a quick story that perfectly illustrates this.
Please.
So I was teaching a Wabi Sabi workshop in Sun Valley, Idaho, and I put them into groups and I gave each group an exercise. So this woman, Stephanie, was told to share with her group the thing that her spouse does that drives her the craziest, that really makes her nuts. And then collectively, they had to find the beauty and perfection in his behavior to shift her perception of him. So I asked them afterwards, okay, does anybody want to share? And Stephanie stood up and she said, my big complaint is that my husband, Garth, is a slob. He works out of state 2 weeks every month. So the 2 weeks that he's gone, my house is perfect. Everything is neat and orderly and clean, and I consider it my house. But then when Garth comes home, within an hour, it's chaos and it's dirty and there's stuff everywhere. And as much as I love him, I find myself counting the days till he's going to leave. So she said, my friend Jean over here asked me a few questions. And the first question was, Stephanie, do you have a dog? Yes. Does your dog shed? Yes. What do you do when your dog sheds? I vacuum up after him. Stephanie, do you love your dog? Of course. And then she went, oh my God, Garth sheds. And she was able to see, just like the dog has no control over the fact that he sheds, Garth can't help that he's a slob. And it completely changed their relationship by finding the wabi-sabi of it. So I called her a few weeks ago as I was finishing my new book. And I said, Stephanie, tell me the truth. How are things with Garth? And she said, they've never been better. We've never been happier. He's still a slob. He still sheds. and we're madly in love. And in fact, he got a new job and he doesn't travel anymore.
That's so beautiful, Arielle. I love those words, and how you really encapsulate the fact that, you know, just changing a perception about someone, you know, a slob, as you describe, could be perceived as someone who's really, you know, annoying, and someone who's, you know, not caring about you because they just dump their stuff everywhere. About changing a perception to say, actually, it's the same person, same event, same everything, same actions, but perceiving it in a way that that's just who he is, and understanding that is one of the biggest messages that we're having for this whole summit series, is understanding that we're all unique, that we're all very different, that the way that we see people, or the way that we would do things, or the way that we would clean our house is very different to how someone else would perform naturally for who they are. And the sooner that we can understand that everybody's very different, and we can have adjust our perception accordingly, it really changes our whole experience around things and our whole relationships. So thanks for sharing.
Garth wasn't waking up in the morning thinking, ooh, how can I make Stephanie crazy today? What can I do to make her miserable? He was just being himself. Obviously, he grew up in a home where either his mother was like that or her father was like that. That's learned behavior that to him is natural and normal. We don't know what kind of home Stephanie grew up in, but probably her mother was a neat freak, and it was just bad and wrong to be messy. You know, so it's not Garth's fault, it's not Stephanie's fault, but they have to learn to coexist. So by learning to embrace the beauty and perfection in ourselves and each other, whether it's your spouse, your kids, your coworkers, it's going to make life so much easier.
So beautiful, Arielle. And just for the listeners for today, we're going to be taking questions with Arielle throughout today's call. If you want to join in, you can raise your hand to actually join us in the Hangout Live. Or if you want to pop some questions in the message chat box, please go ahead and do that. And we won't do that just yet, but a little bit later in the call, have an opportunity to engage and ask Arielle some questions about love, about happiness, and about soulmates. So I'm sure that question will be coming out pretty hot. So
hey,
Arielle,
Matt, I want to share something with you that I've never talked about in an interview.
Please do.
You're either going to love it or hate it, but it's going to blow your mind. Ready?
We're ready.
There's something more important to your health and your longevity than eating the right food.
Please share, Arielle. You've got us on the edge of our seats.
Okay. So the scientific research has now discovered something that they call the marriage effect. So couples who are happily married live longer, are much happier, and heal faster. And in fact, one study showed that happily married men outlive single men by at least 7 years.
Wow.
Now, added to that, happily married men that are having sex at least once a month live 60% longer, and happily married men who have sex twice a week or more are like living forever and have reduced their risk of cancer by like many, many, many percentage points. So why am I telling you this? There's a whole generation of which you're in that is foregoing marriage. They're thinking, oh, we're committed, we're living together, that's enough. But what the researchers found, that just being in a committed relationship, you do not get any of the marriage effect benefits, none of them. You're not happier, you don't heal faster, you don't live longer. And part of the reason for this, they haven't proven this, but what Harville Hendrix says, and by the way, Oprah calls him the marriage whisperer, he's a PhD love researcher. Harville says the reason for this is that our prehistoric brain knows that we're not really safe in a marriage in which vows haven't been taken, that somebody could walk out at any time. And it's the taking of the sacred vows and creating that container of safety and security in which the marriage effect blossoms.
Wow, Arielle, that's extremely powerful. And I guess there's a lot of different things that could underpin that. And I think the psychology there is so true that you share. It's some interesting research, and I think that's going to be able to be taken and applied to many different circumstances. I know that there's probably many different people on this call that are in very different relationships, probably some single, maybe there's people who are divorced, maybe people in very happy marriages. And I'd love just to sort of come back to what you shared before about love. And there's so many different types of love. There's so many different meanings to love. we can, as you shared before, we can love our children but be really annoyed at the fact that they're not on our good books for a day. We can love our parents in a way. We can love our brothers and sisters in a certain way. We can love the work that we do. We can love our hobbies that we're involved in. We can love the beautiful weather that's out, at the moment, at this point in time. We can truly love at a deep level our partner and our romantic relationship. We can have an unconditional love for those around us. Could you just share a little bit about love with us and sort of?
Yeah, there's just, as we already talked about, there's no shortage of love for everybody. But like anything worth having, we have to put our intention and our attention on it. I talk to so many people who say, oh, I ask them, what's your number one priority in your life? Oh, my family, my husband and my kids. Really? How much time do you spend with them? Isn't it true that, work always comes first and other things come first? And then if you have any energy left over to have sex with your husband or have a date night, you might get to it, but you might fall asleep as well. So people talk a good game. It's just like a lot of people say, oh, yes, I'm really eating healthy. But when you get your hands on their diet, it's like, no. No, that doesn't really count. So, we have to get honest with ourselves. Is love really important to us? And if it is really important to us, how much of my day am I sharing my love with everybody, whether it's the coworkers, the friends, the family, the immediate family, all of that. So I think, it's a good conversation to have. I actually make a list every day where I prioritize several things, one of which is exercising, eating right, doing my heart lock-ins. I don't meditate, but that's my form of meditation, the heart math heart lock-ins. I've recently added pleasure because I think pleasure is a priority. And, you could say, well, I enjoy working out, but I'm talking about something different, special every day. Like today, I went swimming in the ocean. That's not something I do every day, Or last night I had coconut milk ice cream, something else I don't do every day. The day before that, I went and got a foot rub. So I think here's why adding pleasure is really important, particularly for women. When women are too tired to interact with their spouse or their boyfriend or their kids in a meaningful way, when they're really stressed out, it's because they've drained their oxytocin levels. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone, the cuddling hormone. So they literally have nothing to give. Now, the fastest way to rebuild oxytocin is to do really fun things like having a manicure and a pedicure, getting your hair done, going for a massage, hanging out with your girlfriends, going shopping. And you don't necessarily need to buy anything. Just seeing and feeling and touching will build oxytocin. The very, very fastest way is to go get a 20-minute hug from somebody you care about. Not 20 seconds. A 20-second hug with someone you care about, who cares about you, rebuilds oxytocin. And one researcher said we each need 6 20-second hugs a day to be healthy.
That's beautiful, Arielle, and so true. And as you know, we spend a lot of time in the science of that. And even just for the listeners here, even a rub around the sacral area will increase the levels of oxytocin that are released.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
okay.
Human touch is so important, and it's actually even more important for females than it is for males in the way that it reacts to the different hormone cascade that goes.
Hanging out with your cat or your dog, petting them, My favorite is foot rubs. I have to say I'm a foot rub junkie. If I could have one twice a day,
that perspective that you share of just incorporating that into a routine and into your daily practice is just so important, Arielle. I love the perspective that you approach this on, and thank you so much for sharing all this wisdom with us today. I'm just going to jump to a couple of questions because we have so many thoughts coming through, and there's a lot of people that come in here from all the things that you said. I can't wait for Turn Your Mate into Your Soulmate to come out, the book. Jan says, I never really thought about it, but from what you said, I realized that I did marry my soulmate. Anna says, that's such an enriching insight, Arielle, about manifesting the same partner if we ourselves don't change. I often notice my partners are a perfect reflection of the space between my beliefs, between who my beliefs tell me I am and who I really am. What you said really speaks to me. Thank you. Margaret says, I love Wabi Sabi love. Ruth says, I agree. Margaret helped me shift my perspective to more appreciation. And we've just got a question here from Margaret that says, Arielle, I feel so ready for true love. It just seems I don't have the chance to meet anyone. I'm in my 50s and I'm not sure what to do. Is it my age? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yes, I have lots of thoughts on this. So just so you know, Margaret, I have 3 girlfriends who all were first-time brides over the age of 50, all of whom met on online dating. And I know a lot of women over 50 contract, oh, I don't want to do it, it's terrible. But it is the biggest shopping mall in the world. And you can be very specific and you can tell the truth about who you are and what you want, because the truth is you only need one. So you will go on a lot of disappointing dates. Just know that up front. It's not going to be the easiest thing in the world. But if you commit yourself to 30 minutes a day with at least one online dating site, and you get really, really clear about who this soulmate is for you, and that what your heart's desire is, you can make it happen. And if you haven't read my book, The Soulmate Secret, read that first. It's really fun. It's really easy. It will get you set up to then go do online dating. The other thing that I want to tell you, we're going to have a heavy conversation here, so be ready. So
We're ready.
Quantum physics has proven that the unified field exists, something that I like to call the divine matrix. In the divine matrix, the past, the present, and the future are all happening at once. That's part one. And part two is that in the divine matrix, we are all interconnected to everything and everybody. Remember the day you and I met, the crazy things that happened? You came in from the other side of the world, and it turned out you're Facebook friends with my husband and didn't know he was my husband. I mean, how nuts is that? We are all already connected. So what that means, Margaret, is that on the unseen level, you are already connected to your soulmate. And you can begin your relationship right now in this moment. It's what I call love before first sight. So you just go and close your eyes, and in your mind, just start talking to him and just tell him, I'm ready. The welcome mat is open. However and wherever you want to show up in the 3D world is fine. I promise to make myself visible. I'm going to go online. I'm going to go to meetups. Whatever my favorite hobbies are, I'm going to do them. Next time I'm standing in line at the coffee shop, I will not be looking at my phone. I will be talking to the men in front of me and the men in back of me. You know, all you people who are running around like this, looking at your phone all the time, you're sending this big message to the world. Stop. Don't bother me. I'm not available. And if you're single and you're out, because of course they're not coming, the FedEx guy's not coming to your front door with your soulmate. So if you're out in the world, take advantage of it and flirt like crazy. You know, you don't have to be hitting on them. If there's a man in front of you, it doesn't matter what age or what he looks like, practice flirting. Just look at him and say, that color looks great on you. Or, do you know what time it is? And then when they look at their watch, you can say, hey, somebody must really love you. That's a beautiful watch. Or, I noticed you're wearing some really crazy flip-flops. Where did you get those? Just start a conversation. Just be friendly and accessible. It doesn't mean, hey, I want to have sex with you. You're just connecting and getting those muscles working. So just like you can't run a 4-minute mile if you've never run at all, you can't be flirting and dating if you haven't done it for 30 years. So start practicing. The only thing in your way of finding a new mate is your beliefs. So let's start clearing those up, okay?
Wow, thank you, Arielle. And I'm sure that's answered Margaret's question and probably many, many others that will be coming up from today's call. And just the concept of actually being out there and connecting with people is just such a great understanding. We often don't even think about it. We sit at home maybe feeling sorry for ourselves or pity, maybe we've tried a number of different things and it hasn't worked before. But actually just being out there connecting with people is part of the experience. And
let me give you a couple of analogies here. So let's use Margaret's example. Let's say Margaret's a divorced mother of 3 young children, and she's got a job and she gets fired. Now, she has 2 options. She could sit on the couch and say, well, if it's meant to be for me to work, a job will find me. Or she could do what a normal person would do, is put her resume together, go online, start networking, go on interviews, knowing that the first interview may not be the dream job, and she would be persistent. like there's a fire lit underneath her until she got a job. That's just how the real world works. But so many people sit on the couch with this, oh, if it's meant to be for me to have love, it will happen. Yes, for 2% of the population, it's magical and it just happens. And for the rest of our mere mortals out there, we've got to do something about it. We've got to let our friends and family know, you know what, I'm ready for love. And here's the kind of guy I would like. I want somebody who's fun and funny and kind and compassionate and loves dogs and likes to go hiking and will just worship the ground I walk on, as opposed to, don't make a list. Well, he's got to be 6'2", 175 pounds, bald with green eyes and a little mustache. Don't set yourself up for that. Just ask yourself, what does my heart need for my long-term happiness? And what your heart needs are qualities. It's not the number of zeros on his paycheck, although you do want someone who's financially responsible, but it doesn't matter what kind of job they have. I know one woman who was a very successful entrepreneur, and I ran into her and she was telling me, oh, I've got the greatest boyfriend and he's into triathlons just like I am, and he's this and he's that and he's handsome and he treats me like a queen. And I was waiting for the big but, but, well, even though he makes really good money, he's a plumber. It's like, well, what's wrong with that? Well, I went to Harvard, and besides being an entrepreneur, I've got a law degree, and it just doesn't fit with my self-image. And it's like, so she gave up this perfectly great guy because he was a plumber. He was a handsome triathlete, worshiped the ground she worked on, liked to work with his hands. She blew him off. Now, fortunately for her, 3 years later, she did meet somebody who had an acceptable job and is now married with a child. But, you can't be that picky.
Well, that's a great perspective to share, Arielle. And as you said, you shared with us earlier in the call, it comes down to our beliefs. And maybe, in that specific instance, that person had a belief that this person needs to have a qualification to live up to my expectations. And these are beliefs that, as you shared as well, that can change. And you actually work with people to help them shift some of the beliefs to be able to see the world with a different perspective.
Wayne Dyer had the greatest line. He always said, don't believe every thought that you have. Just don't believe it. As an emotionally mature adult, it's up to us to manage our thoughts, our beliefs, and our emotions and our feelings. And we can do that, or we can let them control us. When we're in the pity party, oh, it's too late for me. I never meet anybody. I live in this remote area. It's never going to happen. I'm such a loser. My husband cheated on me. Every guy I've ever been with cheated on me. Why do you think God invented coaches and psychotherapists? If you need one, get one. It's totally worth it. I always tell people, it's like, when my computer breaks down, I have options here. Now, I could get out my screwdriver, or I could call Steve, my tech guy. It's much harder for me to call Steve. Steve has a back door into my computer, so from his house, he fixes things. If I got out my computer and tried to fix it myself, it would just be more broken. So if you've spent 50 years not getting where you want to go, then it's time to make an emotional and a financial commitment where you put your sword in the ground and you say, I deserve to be a happily married woman or a happily married man. I deserve to have the greatest life possible, and I'm going to be relentless in my pursuit of this, because those things can be changed, and whatever story you're telling yourself, I promise you it's not true.
Arielle, I love your fresh, real, down-to-earth perspective on things. It's just so refreshing to hear some very tangible, real-world, everyday conversation about this. And
I want to tell you why I'm qualified to say this.
Please.
It was never predictable that I would become a love and relationship expert. I grew up as a very lonely, scared, depressed young girl with parents who hated each other. I never saw them hold hands or kiss. I only saw my mother yelling at my father and my father sleeping 12 hours a day because he was depressed. It got to the point by the time I was in my 20s, I was suicidal and I was in treatment and getting drugs. And by the time I was in my 30s, I'd had a million bad relationships. And finally, when I turned 40, I just thought, okay, I'm putting myself in therapy. And so I was a first-time bride at the age of 44. And I've now been happily married for more than 17 years. But it was because I finally just decided, you know what? I am a really nice person. I'm smart. I'm physically active. I have lots of friends. I have a great career. The fact that I've messed up this relationship thing for so long, I'm going to figure it out. And I did figure it out. And, you know, all of that's in all of my books. But the soulmate, for single people out there, the soulmate secret, spend $12 on Amazon and then go find a soulmate. And then buy my new book that's coming out the end of the year, Turn Your Mate into Your Soulmate, because it'll teach you everything I didn't know when I married my soulmate.
Arielle, just on that tangent, how can people find out more about this amazing information insight you have to share with us? Do you have a website, a link? How can people get?
Yes, my website is soulmatesecret.com. There's no information yet about the new book on it, but if you go to soulmatesecret.com, you can go to the tab that says free stuff, and there's lots of good free stuff on there. You can sign up. I have a weekly newsletter where I share lots of good information. So that's the easiest way. You can also find me on Facebook. I think it's facebook.com/Arielle Ford, Love Expert or something like that. But search around, you'll find me. And I love to stay in touch with people.
That's awesome, Arielle. Well, we're just going to, I guess, bring this back to the conversation for this summit. And it's really about personal health and about understanding how love and about our soulmates and relationships and the way we perceive things can really influence our health at any particular point in time. And love is something that I know you speak about very passionately. We've already talked about this call. One of the questions that we've had come through here from Ruth was, is the love you're talking about unconditional love? And the topic of unconditional love is often an interesting topic. There's many different ways that we can experience love. And sometimes the unconditional love that we talk about, or we will sort of try and feel or hope to experience at some stage, has been kind of tainted a little bit over the centuries with religion, and often there's a lot of guilt and shame and things are involved in that process. Can you share with us a bit about unconditional love from your perspective and how that's important with soulmates and with our relationships today?
Well, I believe that you can love somebody unconditionally and still have a strong boundary and refuse to have them in your life. So if there are toxic people in your life, let's say you have toxic relatives, and it's just not good for your health to be around them, you can love them from afar and you can draw a line. Marianne Williamson has this great line which is, keep your heart open and your doors locked. It's just the smart thing to do. So first and foremost, we have to love ourselves enough to know who's good for us and who isn't. So many people try to love somebody for their potential, or have been, wounded so badly by people who have lied and cheated to them over and over again, and they want to love them unconditionally. And the universe has shown very clearly that they're not deserving of spending time with you. So when we love somebody, we can't not love somebody, So let's say your husband dumps you or your wife dumps you, and you hate them for the pain they've caused, and yet you still love them. Just know it's okay to still love them. Just don't spend any time with them. Just tuck them away in a little part of your heart where you can love the good things about them, because there will be good things, but you need to protect yourself first. And then find somebody who's worthy of your love. I don't know if you guys know who Dr. Phil is in your part of the world. He's a big talk show person here.
Right, we do. We have the Australian version of Dr. Phil in this summit, actually. But yes, please continue.
Dr. Phil says we train people how to treat us. So first you have to treat yourself really good. You have to realize you're the prize. You're the good, kind, loving person who wants to give and receive love. But if you're spending time with somebody who doesn't love you, doesn't respect you, is using you, you have no one to blame but yourself. And you can, oh, but I love them. Yes, but I love hot fudge sundaes. Do I eat them? No, because I am gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, chocolate-free, and if I ate it, I'd get a migraine. I would love to eat it, but it's not good for me. So, if you say, I know so many women who do this where they're eating so well, they're so clean in their eating, and they're working out like maniacs, and they're spending time with these loser guys who don't respect them. So the toxicity of the relationship supersedes the good that they're doing with the good food and the good exercise. So that's the other thing I want to raise. Any negative thoughts that you're having about yourself or anyone else creates toxicity in your body. So if you're one of these hardcore vegans and you're judging meat eaters, sorry, dude. The level of your judgment creates a level of toxicity that offsets your veganism. And nobody's having this conversation, but I know this is true. So we have to become kinder, more loving, gentler creatures with ourselves and with our thoughts, and then radiate that out into the world, and then make ourselves visible and available for more love.
Beautiful, Arielle, and that's so empowering to actually just hear the words that you share about love as well. It's because, again, one of the beliefs that we've had at the start of this conversation was about soulmates, and we've got one soulmate for life, and that's who we've got. We also have a belief that attaches love to circumstances, and it's really empowering to hear that we can love someone or love something, but actually not need to be involved or committed or connected to that in that specific space and time. So for us to be able to love our enemies and love the people that from biblical days, and love the people that really frustrate us, or we may find that triggers anger or other emotions in us, to be able to love them unconditionally means that we can actually be in that space of unconditional love, but not actually have to even be in the same circumstances or the same everyday relationship with them. That's a really empowering piece of information I just wanted to share again, and that is just I guess this whole personalized health conversation is about understanding who you are, understanding what's right for you, understanding what it takes for you to experience love and happiness, and what sort of relationships really, I guess, trigger the right chemicals to be released in the body, trigger the right thoughts and the right perceptions and the right conversations, because at the end of the day, we're all here on this planet to experience health and happiness. And it's just such a great conversation and such a fresh perspective.
Something I'm working on myself. As I shared with you last time we were together, I've been having these reflux issues for 5 years now. And I've tried every diet, and I've been to every healer, and everything works for a day or two, and then it never changes. And then I was with this healer recently who said the most interesting thing to me. She said, nothing's going to change until you stop the acidic thoughts you have about yourself. This is your body's way of sharing with you that you have more work to do on you. And I saw that just made so much sense, because I was just in denial. I thought, oh yeah, I've cleaned up my thoughts. But the truth is, just like everybody else, there are moments where I think, oh God, you're such an idiot, or that was such a stupid thing to do. Or I get all stressed out over things that I shouldn't be getting all stressed out of. And I saw that I have to have even more moment by moment awareness as to how I'm treating me. So this is a game for all of us. I can teach this stuff, but I have to live it as well. So as much as I'm sharing this with you and your audience, I'm saying it for me.
Amazing, Arielle. Thank you for sharing that. And it's really just such a powerful understanding when we can be in a space of not trying to be the expert, and understanding that we're all on a journey. We're forever learning, and we love to share the information that we find on our journeys with everybody else who's listening on their journeys too. So thank you for sharing that beautiful experience that you found over your many years, and the wisdom you have to share. Arielle, I'd love to just ask you a question about the future of humanity. This is something that, as you know, I'm very interested in that topic, and I like to speak about that quite often. What's your thoughts from the hope that we have for humanity moving forward, from the state of dysfunction that exists in the world, from I guess the way that we perceive love and happiness and even our relationships? What hope do we have, and what tips for us listening, the listeners right now, would you suggest for us to be able to actually take a step forward in the right direction here?
It's a tricky conversation, because there's a part of me that knows in every cell of my body that as we heal ourselves, we can contribute more to the world, right? So just like when you get on the airplane and they tell you put your own oxygen mask on first before you try to help anybody else, I believe that's the most powerful thing, really healing our emotional wounds and our physicality, or accepting our physicality as best we can, because there's no perfection there either. I think that's really the first step. In terms of, you know, my bigger long-term view for humanity as a whole, you know, there's a part of me that thinks it's already perfect the way it is, that it is supposed to have strife and struggle and war and horror, so that we can, you know, react to it and feel love and compassion and be of service and contribute. And that if there were in fact total world peace, you know, would that actually be boring? Now, there's no chance of world peace happening, at least in my lifetime, in the 25 years or so I may have left, possibly in your lifetime. But I almost wonder if the focus is wrong. If we could be more wabi-sabi of about the way the world is, while we're both contributing to ourselves and our favorite causes, and try to make the world better in the places that we can, without having this global thing like, well, if we don't end hunger in 7 years, we will have failed. You know, that doesn't really help anybody. You know, who can you feed this week in your neighborhood? And yes, write a check to UNICEF or to the UN Fund or Doctors Without Borders or Red Cross or any of those other great organizations. Do both, but I would say if you could only do one thing, then work on your own heart, your own soul.
Beautiful, Arielle. And just for a tangible start to that conversation, for those listeners here right now who are really unsure where to start, where would they start to do that? What would you recommend that they do right now that they can start either right today, tomorrow morning? I know you've shared lots of things on this call, but just to bring it together, do you have some tangible tips that you can
Sure.
give the
The
audience?
first thing I would encourage everybody to do is every time you pass a mirror, blow yourself a kiss.
Mhm.
Just start that simple. And then sit down and make a list of at least 10 soulmates that you already have. You know, just write it down and then put it somewhere where you can look at it every day. And when you look at the list, just silently send them some love. You know, if you want to send them a gift, if it's an elderly person, make a call, but choose a conscious practice of having appreciation and gratitude every day for all the love that you already have. If you're single, I'll say this again, I don't want to be a broken record, spend $12 and buy the Soulmate Secret. This is a proven formula that has worked for tens of thousands of men and women in 40 countries around the world, including my 80-year-old mother-in-law, and it's fun to do. If you're already married and in a relationship, start asking your mate once a week, what can I do to make your life better? Just ask them that one question. What's one thing I could do to make your life better? And then when they answer you, repeat back what you heard to make sure that you really heard it. You know, and it may be something as, you know, I'd like to have a regular date night where you choose the restaurant and the movie and just surprise me. Or it could be something more simple like, I wish you would remember to take the trash out. You know, but whatever it is, ask them, what could I do to make your life better? You know, and then start to practice a little wabi-sabi. I've got a free 5-part video series that people can get. It's kind of a long URL, but it's at wabisabilove.com/gifts, or GIFTS, wabisabilove.com/gifts, and there's a free video series that teaches how to be a wabi-sabi artisan. So, you know, those are good places to start. Go to soulmatesecret.com, sign up for my newsletter. I give juicy love tips out every single week. And just having your attention on giving and sharing more love will make a difference. Just like you have your attention on, oh, I've got to buy more kale. I've got to go to the gym and do my exercise. It's time for my yoga practice, or it's time to meditate. Just like you have that as a habit, become a love philanthropist.
Oh, I like that a lot, Arielle. I love that.
I
That's
stole it from Marcy Scheimoff, our good friend. Love
excellent.
philanthropist.
Beautiful. I love it. That's fantastic. Well, we've Marcy's going to be speaking with us on this series too. Or I think we've already actually spoken with this series. So, Arielle, thank you so much for your time, for being here. I really love the perspective and the realness that you brought, the vulnerability that you've shared with us here. And if there's one last comment or parting comment you'd like to leave with us, what would that be? And I'm going to bring it into the context of how love, our soulmates, the relationships actually relate to our health and our happiness, and for us to be in a state of health versus a state of disease, as you shared, so openly. The state of ill digestion may be related to the fact that it's your thoughts about how you perceive yourself, and about maybe self-love and other things like that. If you had something to leave us with, a final thought to bring all this together and sort of bring this home to the Personal Health Summit that we're talking about, what would you share with us for those listening at home right now?
Well, I would say a couple things. One is that one thing I know for sure is there's more than enough love on the planet for everybody if you're willing to invest a little time and energy, intention, and attention onto love. It's there, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. There's at least one person on the planet who already loves you like crazy, and there's probably a lot more. The other thing is, as I shared at the beginning, the science is in. Investing in being happily married will improve your health. It'll improve the rate of time for healing from anything that comes up, and it will increase your lifespan. So as much as you've got to eat right and exercise and breathe and all of that, putting your attention on being happily married. Now, I know there's some people who are thinking, oh, I don't want to live with anybody. You don't actually have to live with your spouse. If you want to live down the street with them and design an alternative lifestyle, you can do that. But if you make the commitment, I am yours and you are mine, you get the marriage effect. And I guess the last thing I want to say is that everybody deserves to be happy. And happiness is both a decision and a choice as well. As someone who's been suicidal and knows the depth of depression, had you told me this when I was in that state, I would have never believed you. But I was in my psychiatrist's office one day, just moaning and begroaning how depressed I was. And she said to me, I don't think you're depressed enough. It's like, what? I don't know how I could be even more miserable. And she said, if you were depressed enough, you'd be willing to do anything to find a solution to it. And that changed the course of my life. It was kind of like, yeah, why kill myself now? Because I haven't really learned what does happiness look like, and could it really be a choice? So yes, did I take the drugs that she gave me, the antidepressants? I did, because it lifted me enough that I was able to go and start and study happy people. And now I'm one of the happiest people I know, even when bad things happen. And bad things happen all the time. I just went through a 3-year period where I watched my sister die of a terrible cancer. I watched my mother-in-law die of a terrible cancer. I had all kinds of health issues myself. My husband had health issues. I mean, we just came out of a 3-year nasty period. And in spite of how much pain and unhappiness I suffered, moments of it, I was always able to bounce back because I now have this core happiness in me. So yes, sadness is a part of life. Disappointment is a part of life. Shit happens. Bad things happen. And when you're filled up and you have this core happiness and you have a spiritual toolbox, you can overcome it. Anybody can learn this. I know it because I didn't think I could, and I did.
Thank you so much, Arielle, for sharing all your wisdom, all your experience, and the realness of who you are and how you go about life. It's such a refreshing perspective. But I know that all the listeners are really appreciating whether you've logged in live today, you're watching the replay. Really encourage you to share this message with your family and friends, and really take the time to actually reflect and observe on who you are, where you're at this point in time, and take these principles on board, because it really can be the difference between you being in a state of ill health or a state of great health. So, Arielle, thank you so much for your time. For being here. It's so great
talking to you. And thank you for all the amazing work you do in the world, and how you're changing people's bodies and minds and healing them all over the place. You're a gift to the planet, Matt.
Thank you, Arielle. It's very beautiful. And for those who haven't yet taken advantage of checking out PH360, please visit the site, ph360.me. It really is helping so many tangible conversations and understanding a lot of the concepts we've spoken about today, with even just first understanding who you are, how your mind works and how you perceive things can be a really good first step to understanding what's right for you, and understanding an area in PH360 that talks about social interactions and social relationships can really give you an understanding about some of the conversations and perceptions that may exist as well. So please check that out, and also be aware of the science that does exist about how foods can influence the way you think and the way you act and react to different people and different situations, and the way that you move can very much change the state of the hormones and keep you in a great space for being more open to certain relationships and changing the dynamics that exist in current relationships. So we talk about all of the different aspects of personalized health and that how everything influences everything else. So I just wanted to tie that in at the end there. And again, thank you so much, Arielle, for being here. Thank you so much to you for listening in, for investing your time here for your health and for your happiness. I really hope that you've got amazing information out of this tonight from Arielle. Please share this with family and friends. This is free information. We're here doing this 100% for you. So please take the time to share it. Go ahead and like the Facebook page where you'll find all the information and goodies and updates on speaker schedules. And please go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can download and watch all the free replays from all the videos in this Summit series. So Arielle, thanks once again. Thank you, listeners at home, for being here. I really appreciate the time and effort that you guys all invest in your own health, and really appreciate the time and effort our speakers have put into helping you and helping educate you in this whole experience of life. So thanks again. We'll talk to you on the next call soon.